Hi everyone, and welcome to our Delaware VDA webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about the invitation for the Delaware VDA. My name is Kevin Hunter from DMA, and I'm here with Jamie and Jamil from Bailey Cavalieri. Let's go ahead and get started. Tell me, what is exactly a Delaware VDA invitation?
Kevin, thanks for having us. We're looking forward to having this conversation and educating companies out there looking for VDA help on where to go and what to do. VDA stands for Voluntary Disclosure Agreement, which is part of Delaware's Voluntary Disclosure Program. The Voluntary Disclosure Program allows companies looking to come into compliance with their unclaimed property liability. And so the VDA invitation is part of that process. The invitation is just a letter that is sent to the company inviting them to join the VDA program. That invitation will contain certain information and certain deadlines that the company has to comply with in order to be accepted into the VDA program. The alternative to the VDA is an unclaimed property audit.
Typically, when do they send out these VDA invitations?
Delaware has established a cadence of sending these invitations out twice a year, usually in April and then later in the summer, August and September.
How do they select companies when they're sending out these invitations?
Delaware, like many other states, uses third parties to assist them in selecting companies for compliance. Typically, these third parties will use algorithms, and those algorithms use different factors to determine if a company has a compliance history with the state of Delaware relative to unclaimed property. Factors that could matter in their selection is unclaimed property filing history, blips in unclaimed property filing history, meaning 1 year you file, 1 year you don't file, or significant increases or decreases in unclaimed property filing history.
The VDA invitations, when they're sent out, who do they typically go to at these selected companies?
They usually go to C-suite executives, maybe the CEO, maybe the CFO. That's part of the issue. Sometimes these invitations get ignored or get shunted off to the side, and they need to be dealt with in a timely manner.
Yeah, sometimes they sit on someone's desk unresponded. How should a company respond when they get one of these invitations?
Well, Kevin, I think the first response is don't panic, but it is something that you need to pay attention to. The response has to be kind of an all-hands-on-deck approach. You need to make sure that the invitation itself reaches the appropriate partners, within the company, including the accounts payable team and others who can assist with determining whether the VDA is the right approach for the company to take, or potentially risk the unclaimed property audit.
Yeah. Is it a good idea to seek counsel before responding?
Certainly, counsel would help, and it's recommended.
Yeah.
Most companies don't have a lot of experience with the VDA process or even the audit process, and so going it alone is certainly a big risk.
If you don't think this VDA invitation is an issue, can you just ignore it?
Ignoring it, Kevin, is kind of the worst thing to do. You should always respond. Talk to the people within your company who have been responsible for your unclaimed property compliance. Perhaps reach out to external experts to evaluate what needs to be done. And as Jamil said, make that determination of whether you're going to enter the voluntary disclosure program or risk an audit.
Gotcha. What happens if you don't respond within the given 90 days?
Well, if you don't respond, Kevin, your company's automatically going to be selected for an unclaimed property audit. That is a fact. Therefore, every company should take a very close look at their unclaimed property exposure, their filing history, and determine if they're in a position to enter the VDA program and perform all of the functions that are required under the VDA program. The audit scenario is typically not the best scenario for most companies. You have a little bit more control over the VDA process, the VDA timing, and the scoping in the VDA setting, as opposed to an unclaimed property audit. And so for most companies, the VDA presents a better option.
Sure, yeah, I agree. doing the voluntary disclosure agreement, does that make you more vulnerable to getting audited?
No, Kevin, I think it's quite the opposite. I think if you enter into the voluntary disclosure program with a state, you, especially with Delaware, you will demonstrate that you know what you're doing, that you know how to handle your unclaimed property responsibilities, and that you're coming to the state in a way that it will convince the state that they don't have to chase you in the future.
Sure. And you also get a release from audit for those in-scope years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who should be a part of a company's VDA process?
As we mentioned earlier, Kevin, this is really kind of an all-hands-on-deck type of approach. Certainly the accounts payable team, your data retrieval and records team, your legal team, certainly are all going to be involved, because the VDA process involves different property types at all levels of your business. And so it's going to take different parties from different levels of your business to participate, and you're going to need their support.
Thank you, Jamil and Jamie, for the insight on the Delaware VDA invitation. And thank you all for joining us for this episode of our webinar series. Please be sure to join us for our other episodes.